Hey guys, so we're going to talk about the importance of dual circuit brakes in your older cars. So today I was driving the truck to work, and about the, fifth stop I had to make on my way, the pedal went way far to the floor, but it still stopped. So I turned around and came home, chose a different vehicle. So when I got home tonight, my son decided to get in the truck, pump the brakes a few times, and said he heard something squirting, and this is what we found. So it leaks some oil, but it doesn't leak that much. I checked the reservoirs, and this morning they looked fine. But when we pumped it, this is what we saw and heard. So there's a hole in that brake line somewhere that runs under the engine. So we'll jack this up and figure out what that is. All right, go ahead. Do it again. All right, I found it. Thank you. So it looks like the hole is right there where it rubbed against the exhaust. I had planned on pulling the engine out of this truck and rebuilding it and doing all this right, but I guess it beat me to it. So we'll have to replace that line. So I got the line out of there. That's where apparently it had rubbed through. I had planned on straightening all this up when I had the engine out someday for rebuild, but I also discovered another boo-boo. This line right there was pinched in the motor mount. The bolt, actually the nut, it actually squeezed the line, so this thing was almost pinched shut. It was probably a good thing that happened. So I got a new piece of brake line, and I will bend it, fish it under there, and make sure it's out of harm's way. I'll bring you back if there's anything interesting to see. I've run the line under the transmission. This line's not as long as the old one. And maybe part of my problem was I tried to stretch the old one as far as I could. So, I don't know if you can see it, but it's right here. So I need to go about a foot. I still have the rest of the old line. So this was actually what was attached over here. So I'll cut some of this off, get it fitted, and then we'll flare this one. Okay, so to do a flare on a standard SAE type brake line, it's a little different. You do two steps. I'm pretty sure you use this, it's been a long time since I've done this. Use this step to set your depth. This is what we'll flare it with, a little die. Guess is what that would be. You do want these good and tight, or it can push down through. Alright, so see if I screw this up, I have a little extra. Take a little brake fluid, lubricate it. If I remember right, you do it like this. You put that die in there. Get my arm out of your way. Until that bottom's out. Take the die off, and that should have sort of bubbled that, which it did. Now you take this pointy part, and that does the most perfect flare you have ever seen. The unfortunate part
So I got a little bit ahead of myself. And guess what? The flare looks good, but there's no nut on there. So now I need to cut this off. Make sure you put the nut on, and then we'll flare it again. So apparently this style tubing cutter, this groove right here, is made for when you screw up and you can't lose a bunch of tubing. So that should sit down in there and allow me to chop that off. Now we deburr it. And then we put the nut on, and now we install it. All right, I believe that'll work. So you may be wondering what I was doing here. This will connect to the caliper. This is a union. It has the corresponding male part in there that'll seal against. This union will essentially put a joint in the brake line and will connect this last little piece to the other piece I just ran.
Okay, so tonight we have it all: barking dogs, lawn equipment. I'm sure an airplane will go over here in a second. I've put some rubber hose around this brake line, strapped this one to it to keep anything from rubbing. And over here in the middle, I strapped the two together with a piece of rubber hose around it. So all that should be pretty rub-free, and we should be good to go up front. While I have it apart, I wanted to check the rear, so let's go see what they look like. So I've pulled the drum off, and in general, looks okay. I need to check behind the wheel cylinder boots. And there's some mud in this one. This one looks okay, but it looks like fluid there, so I'm going to see if I can find a new one for that. Let's see what the other side looks like. Oh, dang it, that looks really bad. So the brake fluid in the back of the master cylinder looks bad too. I'll go show you. So there's a front to back comparison. I replaced everything in the front, so I was going to bleed the back and adjust them, but now that I saw that and what we saw with the leaking seals, I'll see if I can find some new ones. Okay, I was able to find some wheel cylinders today, and of course it starts raining as soon as I come out here. So let's see how quickly get these changed. Unfortunately, the way this wheel cylinder is in here, I'm gonna have to take everything apart. It's a case where spending a couple extra dollars on the right tools really makes life a lot easier. This little tool here goes over the spring, and you spin it around, it comes right off. I can just lift that whole assembly out of there. I'm hoping anyway. Get it down out of the way. Now for the
wheel cylinder. Let's go to the back. As luck would have it, this line appears to be seized to the nut. Let's see if I can hold it with some vice grips and break it loose. Alright, it appears as though I was successful. Now that that's loose, there's just 2 bolts on the back. In this particular truck, the wheel cylinders are side specific. I like to put a little anti-seize on this part here that goes in the wheel cylinder and then goes on the brake shoe. Keep that thing from sticking. Alright. Those of you who don't know, this little pin is what holds the shoe on. The pin that's in there, and then this cap is slotted. This tool helps you line it up. Let's put it on a quarter turn, that'll hold it. So this can be an aggravating part of this. But this tool, the other end of it, has a hook, and you can slide your spring over that, and it pops it right on. I'm gonna let that drip a while, drip that fluid out so we don't contaminate our new wheel cylinder with that nasty brake fluid. I'll go to the other side. There's a slot in the backing plate. Use a tool similar to this or a screwdriver and come in and turn the star wheel down, and that opens it up. The other side should have the opposite threads on it. So we're going to turn this about where it was before. Let's see if the drum will go back on. Now we can go in there and turn this as we turn the drum and adjust them up. It actually feels like I'm kind of dragging now, but we'll wait till we get the fluid changed and get them bled, and then do a final adjustment. Alright, we're going to have to bleed this the old-fashioned way. It didn't want to drip out on its own. Okay, go down slow. Alright, up. Down slow.
Okay.
Down.
Okay.
Up.
Okay.
Down.
Okay.
Alright, so as with the direction of most of my projects, we attempted to bleed the brakes and didn't get anything out of the rear, and the pedal wasn't going down. So I tried the vacuum bleeder just to pull some volume through, and no success. I cracked it loose up here at the master cylinder was just a pry bar on the brake pedal, and I got fluid here. So I was taking this apart, I was getting fluid dripping out. So I pulled, this is the line going to the rear, I pulled it off and opened one of the rear bleeders, and nothing happened. It's compressed air, so I'm gonna shoot a little compressed air with both of them. And nothing's coming out the back. So somewhere between the front and the rear of the truck, we have a blockage in the brake line. Most of that line's new, so I'm going to roll under there and do a little inspection and see if I can see anything obvious. If not, we'll start taking apart, I guess, at every joint, or breaking it loose at every joint, and see if we can blow to it. So the brake hose did come off the vehicle. Let's see, it'll come through it. All right, let's go locate a brake hose. So I got a hose. I had to go to like a big store. It's like a distribution center to find it. And let's get this on. Okay, so that was not as straightforward as I thought. I had to get an adapter to adapt that brake hose to the line. I'll show you that in a minute. But we've actually dripped some fluid. All right, push down slow. Down slow. All right, so this could be a while, but we're getting fluid now, so that's a good sign. My brake line fitment issue is here. This is a 1/4 inch hard line, and this is a 3/16 hose. So this is like a reducer that I had to put in there to make all that work. So I've driven a few days. It seems like the rears are just a little tight. I'm going to back them off just a couple turns. It's really hard to get this in here with these lowering blocks, but it just barely reaches. All right, I'll go to the other side and get that done. Today on the way to work, the truck decided to shed this hubcap. Would have thought it would have been a front wheel, because when I turned, when I heard it flying off. But it looks like all the bolts let go. 1/4-20 fits in there, other than one of them. I'll have to run a tap through this one and maybe shorten these up a little bit. It's not much worse for the wear, considering I had to make like 2 U-turns to get back to it, and when I got back to the intersection, it was under somebody's car. But a little cracked. I can glue that piece back in, you won't really see it. Thanks for watching, and now my 501 subscribers. So we got plenty of content coming. Maybe a little bit of it right there.